जियो इंजीनियरिंग के खतरों तक।
और मॉडल इंडिया के निर्माताओं से लेकर नासा के नए मिशन तक भी।
तो ये एक मैराथन होने वाली है, लेकिन वादा है हर मोड़ पर कुछ नया और मजेदार सीखने को मिलेगा।
तो ध्यान से सुनिएगा, क्योंकि हम हर विषय की तह तक जाएंगे।
लेट्स बिगिन।
पहला सवाल है, Why are Indian broadcasters owed payments? ये मुद्दा इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस और मीडिया इकोनॉमिक्स से जुड़ा है।
हाँ, मामला यह है कि इंडियन ब्रॉडकास्टर्स के 350 करोड़ रुपए से ज्यादा नेपाल और बांग्लादेश के डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स के पास अटके हुए हैं।
और ये सिर्फ एक बिजनेस का मसला नहीं है ना?
नॉट एट ऑल। ये रीजनल डायनामिक्स और रेगुलेटरी फ्रिक्शन का एक बेहतरीन उदाहरण है।
इसे कैसे समझें? कोई रियल लाइफ एग्जांपल?
बिल्कुल, इसे ऐसे समझिए, मान लीजिए नेटफ्लिक्स इंडिया अमेरिका में अपनी सर्विसेज दे रहा है।
ठीक है।
लेकिन वहां के केबल ऑपरेटर्स ये कहकर पेमेंट रोक देते हैं कि हमारे देश के नियम अलग हैं।
अच्छा, तो ब्रॉडकास्टर्स के लिए ये एक बड़ा सरदर्द है।
एग्जैक्टली। और यहीं पर क्लीन फीड का कॉन्सेप्ट आता है।
क्लीन फीड वो क्या है?
ये एक एड फ्री फीड होती है जिसे इन देशों के नियमों के तहत भेजना जरूरी है, और इसमें ब्रॉडकास्टर का एक्स्ट्रा कॉस्ट लगता है।
मतलब उन्हें एक खास तरह की सर्विस देनी पड़ती है, जिसकी वजह से उनकी लागत बढ़ जाती है। और क्या पेचीदगियां हैं इसमें?
काफी हैं। जैसे बांग्लादेश की एक रेगुलेशन कहती है कि उन्हें लोकल सैटेलाइट्स का इस्तेमाल करना होगा,
जिससे ऑपरेशनल कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी बढ़ जाती होगी।
प्रिसाइसली। और वहीं नेपाल ने आला कार्ट बंडलिंग रूल्स लागू कर दिए हैं, जो हमारे न्यू टैरिफ ऑर्डर मतलब एनटीओ जैसे हैं।
अच्छा, तो इससे डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स के बिजनेस मॉडल पर सीधा असर पड़ा है और पेमेंट में देरी हो रही है।
बिल्कुल। तो टेक अवे ये है कि नेशनल रेगुलेशंस इंटरनेशनल बिजनेस को बहुत प्रभावित कर सकती हैं।
एग्जाम पर्सपेक्टिव से ये ट्रेड बैरियर्स और रेगुलेटरी कंप्लायंस का एक एक्सीलेंट एग्जाम्पल है।
अब आप प्रैक्टिस के लिए क्लीन फीड और आला कार्ट बंडलिंग को जोर से बोलकर प्रैक्टिस कीजिए।
In short, national regulatory differences in neighboring countries are creating major financial hurdles for India's media industry.
अगला विषय है Why is environmental surveillance important? ब्रॉड माइक्रो थीम, पब्लिक हेल्थ एंड बायोटेक्नोलॉजी।
सोचिए, अगर आपके शहर का ड्रेनेज सिस्टम एक जासूस बन जाए जो बीमारियों के आने से पहले ही खबर दे दे।
वेस्ट वाटर सर्वेलेंस बिल्कुल यही करता है। ये एक प्रोएक्टिव पब्लिक हेल्थ टूल है।
ये तो कमाल का आइडिया है। इट्स लाइक अ स्मोक डिटेक्टर फॉर डिजीजेस। आग लगने से पहले ही आपको धुएं का पता चल जाता है।
सही। बेसिकली सीवेज के पानी में पैथोजेंस मतलब वायरसेस और बैक्टीरिया को ट्रैक किया जाता है ताकि अर्ली वार्निंग मिल जाए।
कम्युनिटी में कोविड-19 या पोलियो फैलने से पहले ही वेस्ट वाटर में उसके निशान मिल सकते हैं।
प्रिसाइसली। इसका कोर लॉजिक बहुत सिंपल है। जब कोई इंसान बीमार होता है तो पैथोजेंस उसके स्टूल या यूरिन में निकलते हैं और वेस्ट वाटर में पहुंच जाते हैं।
और इस पानी को मॉनिटर करके हम कम्युनिटी लेवल पर इन्फेक्शन के ट्रेंड्स का पता लगा सकते हैं, वो भी बिना हर एक व्यक्ति का टेस्ट किए।
और भारत इसमें कोई पहल कर रहा है?
हाँ, और ये एक बहुत बड़ा कदम है। ICMR 50 शहरों में 10 अलग-अलग वायरसेस के लिए वेस्ट वाटर सर्वेलेंस शुरू करने जा रहा है।
एंड दिस इज अ ह्यूज स्टेप, और ये कोई नई टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है।
अच्छा।
हाँ, इसे पिछले 40 सालों से मीजल्स और कोलेरा जैसी बीमारियों के लिए इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है।
वाओ।
2001 में मुंबई में पोलियो को ट्रैक करने में इसका बहुत बड़ा हाथ था।
तो ये पब्लिक हेल्थ को रिएक्टिव से प्रोएक्टिव बनाता है।
एग्जैक्टली। हम बीमारी का इंतजार नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम उसे खोज रहे हैं।
Got it. तो अब प्रैक्टिस करें। वेस्ट वाटर सर्वेलेंस acts as an early warning system for disease outbreaks.
In short, by testing sewage, we shift public health from being a firefighter to a detective, finding clues before the crisis begins.
अब चलते हैं इतिहास की ओर, उन लोगों से मिलने जिन्होंने आधुनिक भारत की नींव रखी। How विश्वेश्वरैया, मुथुलक्ष्मी and महालनोबिस shaped modern India. थीम मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री एंड नेशन बिल्डिंग।
इतिहास सिर्फ तारीखों का खेल नहीं है, ये उन लोगों की कहानी है जिन्होंने बड़े सपने देखने की हिम्मत की।
बिल्कुल। पहले है M विश्वेश्वरैया, जिन्हें फादर ऑफ मॉडर्न मैसूर भी कहा जाता है।
हाँ, 1912 से 1918 तक मैसूर के दीवान रहते हुए उन्होंने इरिगेशन, फ्लड प्रोटेक्शन और इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन में जबरदस्त काम किया।
आज जो हम महाराजा सागर डैम देखते हैं वो उन्हीं की देन है। He was an engineer with a vision for nation building.
बिल्कुल। फिर आती हैं मुथुलक्ष्मी रेड्डी, a true trailblazer।
वो मद्रास की पहली महिला लेजिस्लेटर थीं।
उन्होंने देवदासी प्रथा जैसी सामाजिक कुरीति को खत्म करने के लिए लंबी लड़ाई लड़ी और अदियार कैंसर इंस्टीट्यूट की स्थापना भी की।
She fought for women's dignity and health.
And finally, PC Mahalanobis, the plan man of India.
उन्होंने इंडियन स्टैटिस्टिकल इंस्टीट्यूट 1932 और नेशनल सैंपल सर्वे 1950 की स्थापना की।
हमारा दूसरा पंचवर्षीय योजना जो हैवी इंडस्ट्रीज पर केंद्रित था, वो उन्हीं का ब्रेन चाइल्ड था।
The Mahalanobis distance in statistics is named after him.
तो इन तीनों ने हमें सिखाया कि एक मजबूत राष्ट्र के लिए 3 स्तंभ जरूरी हैं: टेक्नोलॉजी, सोशल जस्टिस और डेटा ड्रिवन पॉलिसी।
Fantastic. Now practice saying their names and one key contribution for each. Visveshwaraya, engineering, Reddy, social reform, Mahalanobis, statistics.
In short, these 3 pioneers weren't just experts in their fields, they were architects who designed the blueprint for a modern, progressive India.
चलिए, अब एक बहुत ही विवादास्पद विषय पर बात करते हैं। Polar Geoengineering could cause severe harm. Scientists.
Broad theme: Environment and Climate Change Technology. सवाल ये है कि एक राक्षस से लड़ने के लिए क्या हम एक और राक्षस बनाने का जोखिम उठा सकते हैं?
जियो इंजीनियरिंग इसी नैतिक दुविधा को सामने लाता है। मतलब क्लाइमेट चेंज को रोकने के लिए पोल्स पर बड़े-बड़े इंटरवेंशंस करना,
जैसे सूरज की रोशनी को रिफ्लेक्ट करना या गर्म पानी को रोकना, पर ये एक हाई रिस्क गैम्बल।
इट्स लाइक हैविंग अ सिवियर हेडेक एंड टेकिंग अ पावरफुल अनटेस्टेड ड्रग। सिर दर्द तो शायद ठीक हो जाए, पर किडनी फेल होने का खतरा है।
एग्जैक्टली। चलिए कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट्स को समझते हैं। एक है स्ट्रेटोस्फेरिक एरोसॉल इंजेक्शन, SAI, जिसमें स्ट्रेटोस्फेयर में सल्फर जैसे एरोसॉल्स छोड़े जाते हैं
ताकि सूरज की रोशनी रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाए।
हाँ। दूसरा है सी कर्टन्स, जो अंडर वाटर बैरियर्स हैं ताकि गर्म पानी आइस शीट्स तक ना पहुंचे।
And what about that idea of glass microbeads?
वो है सी आइस मैनेजमेंट, जिसमें समुद्र की बर्फ पर कांच के माइक्रोबीड्स फैलाए जाते हैं ताकि उसकी रिफ्लेक्टिविटी मतलब एल्बिडो बढ़ जाए।
लेकिन खतरे यहीं से शुरू होते हैं।
बिल्कुल। एसएआई का सबसे बड़ा खतरा है टर्मिनेशन शॉक। अगर इसे अचानक रोक दिया गया तो वार्मिंग बहुत तेजी से होगी।
शायद पहले से भी ज्यादा।
इट कुड ऑल्सो मेस अप ग्लोबल वेदर पैटर्न्स लाइक द इंडियन मॉनसून्स।
सही कहा। और वो माइक्रोबीड्स सुनने में तो हार्मलेस लगते हैं।
They're not. They can cause ecotoxicity, मतलब वो मरीन फूड वेब की नींव जू प्लैंक्टन को नुकसान पहुंचा सकते हैं। The chilling insight is that in our attempt to save the planet's climate, we might end up poisoning its oceans.
We could save the ice but kill the life within it. This is a classic double-edged sword.
Now, practice saying stratospheric aerosol injection (SAI) carries the risk of termination shock and ecotoxicity.
In short, polar geoengineering is a Faustian bargain. It might offer a solution to climate change, but at the cost of unpredictable and potentially catastrophic ecological side effects.
अब अंतरिक्ष की ओर चलते हैं। NASA's IMAP will show how solar particles are energized. Theme: Space Science and Technology.
हम ब्रह्मांड में अपने घर यानी सौर मंडल के बिल्कुल किनारे तक जा रहे हैं। IMAP मिशन का यही मकसद है।
IMAP का मतलब है Interstellar Mapping and Acceleration Probe, and it's a mission to map the boundary of our solar system, a protective bubble called the heliosphere.
इसे ऐसे समझिए, हमारा सोलर सिस्टम गैलेक्सी के विशाल महासागर में तैरता हुआ एक बुलबुला है।
और IMAP एक छोटी पनडुब्बी की तरह है जिसे इस बुलबुले के किनारे पर भेजा जा रहा है, ये पता लगाने के लिए कि अंदर और बाहर के पार्टिकल्स कैसे इंटरैक्ट करते हैं।
तो इसका डेस्टिनेशन क्या है? ये कहाँ जा रहा है?
इसे सन अर्थ लग्रांज पॉइंट 1L1 पर स्थापित किया जाएगा, जो पृथ्वी से लगभग 1.5 मिलियन किलोमीटर दूर है।
L1 एक ग्रेविटेशनल स्वीट स्पॉट है जहां स्पेसक्राफ्ट कम से कम ईंधन में स्टेबल रह सकता है।
और याद रहे, भारत का आदित्य L1 मिशन भी यहीं पर है।
एंड व्हाट्स द की टेक्नोलॉजी इट्स यूजिंग?
इसमें IMAP लो नाम का एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट है जो इंटरस्टेलर न्यूट्रल एटम्स को डिटेक्ट करेगा। ये वो एटम्स हैं जो हमारी गैलेक्सी से हमारे सोलर सिस्टम में आते हैं।
The mission's core insight is that to understand our own home, we must first understand the fence that protects it.
बिल्कुल। The heliosphere is our shield against harmful cosmic radiation, and IMAP will tell us exactly how strong that shield is.
Great. Rehearsing, IMAP will orbit at Lagrange point 1 to map the heliosphere.
In short, NASA's IMAP mission isn't just about exploration, it's about understanding the cosmic shield that makes life on Earth possible.
वापस धरती पर आते हैं, जहां एक नई वैश्विक दौर शुरू हो चुकी है। Will China capture the electrolyzer market?
Theme: Green Energy and Geopolitics. ये दौर तेल के लिए नहीं, बल्कि उस टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए है जो क्लीन एनर्जी बनाती है।
और ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन बनाने के लिए इलेक्ट्रोलाइजर्स की जरूरत होती है, और चीन इस बाजार पर कब्जा करने की कोशिश कर रहा है।
बिल्कुल, ये सोलर पैनल या मोबाइल फोन मार्केट की कहानी दोहराने जैसा है।
So there are two main types of electrolyzers?
हाँ, पहले हैं अल्कलाइन ALK, ये एक मैच्योर और सस्ती टेक्नोलॉजी है।
Okay.
दूसरे हैं प्रोटॉन एक्सचेंज मेम्ब्रेन PEM, ये ज्यादा एफिशिएंट है, लेकिन इनमें इरिडियम और प्लैटिनम जैसे कीमती मेटल्स का इस्तेमाल होता है।
And where is China stand in this race?
China's dominance is staggering. It controls roughly 85% of the global oil manufacturing capacity.
That's huge.
हाँ, सप्लाई चेन के लिहाज से चाइना ऑल के लिए जरूरी निकल और स्टील को तो डोमिनेट करता है, लेकिन उसे PEM के लिए जरूरी इरिडियम और प्लैटिनम तो इंपोर्ट करना पड़ता है।
अच्छा, तो ये उसकी एक पोटेंशियल वल्नरेबिलिटी है।
Exactly.
So what does this mean for a country like India with its own national hydrogen mission?
It's a strategic wake-up call. The real insight here is that the geopolitics of the 21st century won't be about controlling oil fields, but about controlling the manufacturing supply chains for green technology.
Dependency on one country for electrolyzers is the new dependency on the Middle East for oil.
Exactly. इसलिए डोमेस्टिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पर फोकस करना हमारे लिए सिर्फ एक आर्थिक नहीं, बल्कि एक राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा की जरूरत है।
Now, practice the key terms. Alkaline electrolyzers are cheaper, while PEM electrolyzers are more efficient but use precious metals.
In short, China's dominance in the electrolyzer market signals a shift in global power dynamics where energy security is defined by technological self-reliance.
चलिए, अब भारतीय राजनीति की गहराइयों में उतरते हैं। Why are the new rules for panchayats getting flack?
The theme is Indian polity and governance, पंचायती राज।
लोकतंत्र की आत्मा विकेंद्रीकरण यानी डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन में बसती है।
पर क्या होता है जब उस आत्मा को ही कमजोर कर दिया जाए?
ओडिशा में यही बहस छिड़ी है।
मामला यह है कि ओडिशा में नए नियमों के तहत इलेक्टेड पंचायत समिति चेयरपर्सन्स की जगह ब्यूरोक्रेट्स यानी ब्लॉक डेवलपमेंट ऑफिसर्स BDOs को 50 लाख रुपए तक के फाइनेंशियल अप्रूवल्स की पावर दे दी गई है।
This is a significant power shift. It's like your school's elected student council president had the power to approve the budget, but now the principal has given that power to a teacher.
Precisely. It fundamentally weakens the president's position.
The core concern is that this undermines the very spirit of Panchayati Raj institutions, PRIs.
और ironically, ये बीजू पटनायक की लेगेसी के खिलाफ जाता है, जिन्होंने PRIs में 33% women's reservation इंट्रोड्यूस किया था।
This is a direct assault on the 73rd constitutional amendment.
Absolutely. The deeper insight is that this isn't just a procedural change, it's a philosophical battle between bureaucratic control and democratic legitimacy at the grassroots level.
तो ये devolution of powers के टॉपिक में एक बेहतरीन केस स्टडी है।
बिल्कुल। Okay, rehearse saying this. The new rules in Odisha are seen as undermining the financial autonomy of Panchayati Raj institutions.
In short, Odisha's new rules have sparked a debate about the soul of decentralization. pitting bureaucratic efficiency against the democratic mandate of elected local leaders.
अब बात करते हैं डिजिटल दुनिया की. How to safeguard India's digital economy.
डिजिटल अरेस्ट्स जैसे फ्रॉड तेजी से बढ़ रहे हैं, जहां धोखेबाज पुलिस या दूसरी एजेंसियों का रूप धरकर लोगों को डराते हैं.
और वो पैसा लॉन्ड्रिंग करने के लिए म्यूल अकाउंट्स का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं. They use a fascinating mechanism called layering.
लेयरिंग.
हाँ, इसमें धोखेबाज चोरी किए गए पैसों को बहुत तेजी से कई सारे बैंकों में फैला देते हैं, जिससे उसे ट्रेस करना लगभग नामुमकिन हो जाता है.
So, how do we fight back?
The solutions must also be sophisticated. हमें AI और मशीन लर्निंग की जरूरत है ताकि रियल टाइम में ट्रांजैक्शंस को मॉनिटर किया जा सके.
KYC नॉर्म्स को और मजबूत करना होगा.
लेकिन सबसे जरूरी है एक 24/7 रैपिड रिस्पांस सिस्टम जो गोल्डन आवर यानी फ्रॉड होने के पहले 24 घंटों के अंदर एक्शन ले सके.
The insight here is that in the digital world, the speed of response is everything. The battle isn't won by strength, but by agility.
Perfect. Let's rehearse this. Layering is used to disperse funds, and the golden hour is critical for response.
In short, to protect our digital economy, our defense systems must be as fast and agile as the criminals attacking it.
अगला विषय बहुत गंभीर है. Cost of convenience. Health hazards is a side effect. The theme is e-waste.
And here's a shocking fact. India is the third largest e-waste generator in the world, after China and the US.
और ये वेस्ट अक्सर इनफॉर्मल रिसाइकलिंग हब्स जैसे दिल्ली के सीलमपुर या यूपी के मुरादाबाद में पहुंचता है.
The health impact there is devastating. Informal recycling methods expose people, including children, to toxic heavy metals like lead, mercury, and cadmium.
It's particularly dangerous for children. A blood lead level greater than 5 micrograms per deciliter can cause permanent cognitive impairment.
This isn't just an environmental problem, it's a public health crisis and a moral failure.
Exactly.
Is there a policy framework to deal with this?
Yes. The E-Waste Management Rules 2022 introduced the concept of Extended Producer Responsibility, or EPR.
This is crucial. It puts the responsibility on the manufacturers to manage the collection and safe disposal of their products.
So the idea is to make the creator responsible for the afterlife of their creation.
The real insight here is that EPR tries to fix a fundamental flaw of modern capitalism, the externalization of costs.
For decades, companies sold us products, but society paid the price for their disposal.
EPR forces that cost back onto the company's balance sheet.
Exactly. Rehearsing. The E-Waste Rules 2022 implement Extended Producer Responsibility, EPR.
In short, the EPR framework is an attempt to make companies financially accountable for the environmental and health damage their products cause after being discarded.
From the waste of new technology to the wisdom of old tech. Why doctors still rely on stethoscope?
It was invented by René Laennec in 1816.
आज हमारे पास AI, एडवांस्ड इमेजिंग सब कुछ है, लेकिन फिर भी ऑस्कल्टेशन यानी दिल और फेफड़ों की आवाज सुनना बेडसाइड फिजिकल एग्जाम का गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड बना हुआ है.
It's a testament to simple, effective design, non-invasive, portable, and gives a doctor a quick assessment.
But it's more than just a tool. It's a symbol of the doctor-patient connection.
In an age of screens and machines, the stethoscope is one of the last things that requires a doctor to actually touch and listen to the patient.
That's a beautiful way to put it. The insight is that some technologies survive not just because they're functional, but because they facilitate a fundamental human interaction.
Practicing this, auscultation via stethoscope remains a gold standard in bedside examination.
In short, the stethoscope endures because it is both a diagnostic tool and a bridge for human connection in medicine.
This next one is genuinely mind-bending. Humans have fingers because fish first needed cloaca. Theme, evolution. Okay, I need a walkthrough on this.
The transition from fins to limbs is linked to something called HOX genes, specifically HOX-A and HOX-D genes.
Okay.
Scientists discovered that the genetic switches that control fin development in zebrafish also control the formation of the cloaca, which is the urogenital opening.
So the same genetic toolkit did two completely different jobs.
Exactly. The genetic program for making a cloaca was later co-opted or hacked by evolution to help shape limbs.
The deeper insight here is that evolution is not an inventor. It's a tinkerer. It rarely creates things from scratch.
It takes existing parts and finds new revolutionary uses for them.
That is nature's ultimate jugaad. Practice saying HOX genes involved in fin development were repurposed from those controlling cloaca formation.
In short, the evolutionary story of our hands teaches us that innovation is often just the clever repurposing of existing tools.
Let's talk about public health strategy. The case to rethink India's influenza vaccination strategy.
India's unique because it sees two flu peaks every year. One in winter, Jan to March, and another post-monsoon, July to September.
And that's a problem because the current annual vaccines offer short-lived immunity, maybe for 3 to 6 months.
This means a large part of the population is vulnerable during the second peak of the year.
So the suggestion is to shift from an annual to a biannual vaccination schedule.
Yes. One shot in May-June for the monsoon peak and another in November-December for the winter peak.
The insight here is about policy adaptation. It shows that a one-size-fits-all global health strategy doesn't always work.
Effective public health requires customizing solutions to local epidemiological realities. We need to follow the virus's calendar, not our own.
Precisely. Rehearse this. India's 2 flu peaks suggest a need for a biannual, not annual vaccination strategy. 5 Ig Nobel Prizes. Laugh and then think.
ये उन रिसर्च के लिए सैटारिकल अवार्ड्स हैं जो लोगों को पहले हंसाते हैं और फिर सोचने पर मजबूर करते हैं.
It's not about mocking science, but about celebrating its imaginative and unusual side.
And here's a fantastic piece of trivia. Andre Geim is the only scientist in history to have won both an Ig Nobel Prize and a real Nobel Prize.
That's incredible. What did he win them for?
He won the Ig Nobel for using magnets to levitate a frog.
Levitate a frog.
Yes, and he won the actual Nobel Prize in physics for his groundbreaking work on graphene.
The insight is that curiosity is the engine of all discovery, whether it leads to a floating frog or a Nobel-winning material.
Great minds don't lose their sense of wonder.
Well said. Practice this fun fact. Andre Geim won an Ig Nobel for levitating a frog and a Nobel for graphene.
In short, the Ig Nobel Prizes remind us that the path to discovery is often paved with curiosity, humor, and a willingness to explore the absurd.
अब कुछ तेज तरार वैज्ञानिक तथ्य. Snapshots, science shots.
First, mammals में females generally live longer than males, but in birds, it's the opposite. Male birds outlive females.
नेक्स्ट, जेम्स वेब टेलीस्कोप को शायद डार्क स्टार्स के सबूत मिले हैं. ये सुपरमैसिव स्टार्स हो सकते हैं जो न्यूक्लियर फ्यूजन से नहीं बल्कि डार्क मैटर अनाइलेशन से ऊर्जा प्राप्त करते हैं.
And back to e-waste. फ्लैश जूल हीटिंग नाम की एक नई मेथड से इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वेस्ट से नियोडियम और कोबाल्ट जैसे रेयर अर्थ एलिमेंट्स को कुशलता से रिकवर किया जा सकता है.
So a quick recap of these three: a reversal of lifespan trends, a potential paradigm shift with dark stars, and a technological breakthrough in sustainable recycling.
अब एक जटिल क्षेत्रीय मुद्दे पर आते हैं. What is Nagaland's job quota issue?
A 1977 policy reserves 37% of non-gazetted jobs for what are classified as backward tribes.
And the distribution is very specific. 25% of that quota is for 7 tribes in eastern Nagaland, while the remaining 12% is for other backward tribes.
The conflict is that the so-called advanced tribes, such as the Angami, Ao, and Sema, are now demanding a review of this policy.
They argue that the socio-economic landscape has changed dramatically in the nearly 50 years since 1977.
The insight here is that affirmative action policies, even when well-intentioned, are not static.
They must be dynamic and responsive to changing social realities, otherwise they can become sources of fresh conflict themselves.
Practice this. Nagaland's job quota conflict is between backward and advanced tribes over a 1977 reservation policy.
In short, the Nagaland job quota issue is a case study in how affirmative action policies must evolve over time to avoid perpetuating new forms of inequality.
Now for a critical topic in disaster management. How is India responding to crowding disasters?
After several tragic stampedes, there's a renewed focus on this. Both the NDMA and the BPR&D have issued new guidelines.
A key threshold to remember is that the risk of a disaster escalates dramatically when the crowd density approaches 5 persons per square meter.
But here's a crucial and grim fact. What is the main cause of death in stampedes? It's not being trampled.
Really?
The main cause of death is a medical term. Compressive asphyxia. This happens when people are squeezed so tightly in a standing crowd that their chest cannot physically expand to breathe.
They suffocate while on their feet.
The insight here is that our very language about these tragedies is often wrong. We call them stampedes, but the real killer is the static pressure of the crowd itself.
Understanding compressive asphyxia shifts the focus of crowd management from controlling panic to preventing density.
Excellent point. Let's rehearse that key term. Practice saying, the primary cause of death in stampedes is compressive asphyxia, not trampling.
In short, to prevent crowd disasters, we must manage crowd density, not just crowd movement, because the true danger is suffocation by pressure.
अब शिक्षा के क्षेत्र की बात करते हैं. Why is a specter of empty classrooms looming?
A recent Supreme Court judgment mandates that all in-service teachers for classes 1 to 8 must clear the Teacher's Eligibility Test, TET, within 2 years or face retirement.
This is based on Section 23 of the Right to Education RTE Act of 2009. The goal is to standardize and improve teacher quality.
So this could have a massive impact, potentially forcing thousands of experienced but uncertified teachers out of the system.
It could. The insight here lies in the classic policy dilemma between quality and quantity.
The push for standardized quality, TET certification, risks creating a massive quantitative shortfall of teachers.
Potentially harming students more than it helps. It's a high-stakes balancing act.
Practice this. The SC has mandated TET for all in-service teachers under the RTE Act, potentially impacting thousands.
In short, the Supreme Court's push for teacher quality via TET creates a potential crisis of teacher quantity, highlighting a common tension in education policy.
Our courts are overburdened, which brings us to our next topic. Why is ADR crucial for India's courts?
ADR stands for Alternative Dispute Resolution, which includes things like arbitration, conciliation, and lok adalats.
The legal backing for ADR is strong. It's under Section 89 of the Civil Procedure Code and gets its constitutional basis from Article 39A.
But let's focus on lok adalats. What makes them so effective?
Their most crucial feature, governed by the Legal Services Authorities Act of 1987, is that their decisions are final and binding.
There's no option for an appeal. This is specifically designed to end disputes swiftly.
So it's a full stop, not a comma, in the legal process.
The insight is that, for a judicial system drowning in cases, the value of lok adalats is not just in providing justice, but in providing finality.
Precisely. Rehearse this. Lok Adalat decisions are final with no appeal, making them an effective ADR mechanism.
In short, Lok Adalats are a critical tool for the Indian judiciary because they offer what the formal court system often cannot, a guaranteed end to litigation.
Sticking with the judiciary and local governance, what is the SC order on local polls in Maharashtra?
There's been a significant delay in local body polls in the state, and it's all tied to OBC reservations.
Yes, the Supreme Court mandated something called a triple test for implementing OBC quotas in local bodies.
Yes.
This requires a commission to conduct a rigorous, empirical investigation into the backwardness of the communities to justify the quotas. And until this data-driven test is completed, the reservations can't be implemented and the polls are stalled.
The impact is a slow death for grassroots democracy. The spirit of the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments is being undermined.
Because bureaucrats are running these local bodies instead of elected representatives.
The insight is that the judiciary's well-intentioned pursuit of data-driven justice is inadvertently creating a democratic vacuum at the local level.
Practice saying, the Supreme Court's triple test for OBC quotas has led to delays in Maharashtra's local body polls.
In short, the judicial requirement for empirical data in OBC quotas has, in practice, led to the suspension of local democracy in Maharashtra.
अब बात करते हैं AI की, हमारे classrooms में. How is AI transforming teaching in Indian classrooms?
The government is pushing this with its India AI mission, which aims to build a complete AI ecosystem.
And the response from teachers is encouraging. A survey shows that 70% are now tech-savvy.
But there are also concerns. CBSE has advised against using tools like ChatGPT in exams, highlighting academic integrity challenges.
But there's a deeper issue here, isn't there? The concept of the digital divide itself is changing.
Exactly. The digital divide is no longer just about access, who has a computer and who doesn't.
The new digital divide is about meaningful use.
It's about who can leverage these AI tools for critical thinking and problem solving versus who just uses them for passive consumption or cheating.
The insight is that technology is no longer just a tool, but a skill.
The 21st century digital divide will separate those who can command AI from those who are merely commanded by it.
Well put. Rehearse this new definition. The digital divide is now about meaningful use of technology, not just access.
In short, as AI enters classrooms, the focus must shift from providing technological access to teaching technological literacy and critical engagement.
अब चलते हैं marine biology की दुनिया में. Philippines pioneers coral larvae cryobank.
We're talking about the Coral Triangle, the Amazon of the seas. It spans 6 countries, including the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia.
And they're using a futuristic technology, cryopreservation.
They use a technique called vitrification, which is rapid freezing at minus 196 degrees Celsius, followed by laser thawing.
This allows them to preserve coral larvae and their essential algae partners called symbiodenese for the future.
So it's essentially a Noah's Ark for corals, a genetic backup to protect them from climate change and bleaching events.
That's a perfect analogy.
The core insight is that conservation is moving beyond just protecting habitats. It's now about preserving the very source code of life itself.
Cryobank is a library of genetic information.
A last-ditch effort to save the blueprints of an ecosystem in case the original structure collapses.
Practice saying, cryopreservation using vitrification at minus 196 degrees C is being used to create a coral larvae cryobank.
In short, the Coral Cryobank represents a shift in conservation strategy from protecting ecosystems in the present to archiving their genetic data for the future.
Let's get even more futuristic. Xenobiology. Beyond Earth. What is it?
This is the study of life forms that use non-standard biological systems. Life, but not as we know it.
So, organisms with different bases in their DNA, or life that exists in liquid methane instead of water?
But what are the applications on Earth? एक key application है creating synthetic microbes with genetic firewalls.
Genetic firewalls.
This means designing them to be dependent on artificial nutrients that don't exist in nature. This ensures they cannot survive or reproduce outside a controlled lab environment.
So, we can use them to produce drugs or clean up pollution without the risk of them escaping.
The insight is that xenobiology is not just about searching for alien life, but about making alien life here on Earth that is fundamentally safer and more controllable.
It's about building safety into the very DNA of synthetic life.
Precisely. Practice the term. Xenobiology explores non-standard life systems and can create microbes with genetic firewalls.
In short, xenobiology's genetic firewalls offer a way to harness the power of synthetic life while ensuring it remains safely tethered to the lab.
Now for a very interesting legal question. Can a third party be liable for marital disruption?
There's a common law tort called alienation of affection or AOA. It allows a spouse to sue a third party for intentionally interfering in their marriage.
And this is now being tested in India.
The Delhi High Court recently issued summons in an AOA suit.
This is fascinating because the Supreme Court, in the famous Joseph Shine case, decriminalized adultery by striking down Section 497 of the IPC.
So, adultery is no longer a crime, but the SC did say it remains a civil wrong and a valid ground for divorce.
And that's exactly where the alienation of affection lawsuit fits in. It operates in that space of a civil wrong.
It's not about sending someone to jail, but about seeking financial damages for the harm done to the marital relationship. The insight here is about the law's evolving view of marriage. It's moving away from a criminal moral framework towards a civil contractual one.
Rehearse this distinction. The Supreme Court decriminalized adultery, but it remains a civil wrong relevant to alienation of affection suits.
In short, the rise of alienation of affection suits shows a legal shift from punishing marital infidelity as a crime to treating it as a civil breach causing quantifiable harm.
This next one might make you brush your teeth a little more carefully. Could hidden dental bacteria help explain heart attacks?
A new study has found oral bacteria, specifically Viridans streptococcus, inside the plaques of coronary arteries.
How do they get there and what do they do?
They can form biofilms in the arteries, slimy protective layers that help them evade the body's immune cells.
When these plaques rupture, they can cause blood clots leading to heart attacks.
This strengthens the link between gum disease and cardiovascular problems.
The insight is profound. The body is not a collection of separate systems, but a deeply interconnected whole.
A localized infection in your mouth isn't just a dental problem. It can become a systemic, life-threatening cardiovascular event.
Excellent point. Practice this. Oral bacteria like Viridans streptococci can form biofilms in arteries, linking gum disease to heart attack risk.
In short, the link between oral bacteria and heart attacks demonstrates that our bodies are a single, interconnected ecosystem where a local problem can trigger a systemic crisis.
Now let's talk about the challenges of doing science in our part of the world.
Global South scientists can bypass red tape.
Scientists in the Global South often face major challenges with procuring equipment and getting timely funding from Western agencies. This is where South-South collaborations become crucial. The idea is for countries in the Global South to share resources, like expensive DNA sequencing facilities.
On a positive note, the Indian Finance Ministry recently eased some limits for direct purchases for research, which should help.
The insight here is about decolonizing science. For too long, the scientific agenda and funding models have been dictated by the Global North.
South-South collaboration is not just about efficiency, it's a political act of creating an independent, parallel scientific ecosystem.
Rehearse this. South-South collaboration can help scientists in the Global South bypass funding and procurement red tape.
In short, South-South scientific collaboration is an attempt to build a new, more equitable global research ecosystem free from the bureaucratic constraints of the old one.
From scientific collaboration to a very cool innovation, kirigami parachutes land on target.
This is inspired by kirigami, the Japanese art of paper cutting. These parachutes have strategically placed slits cut into them.
And these slits are the secret sauce. They allow the parachute to have a very stable vertical descent.
The biggest benefit is that it dramatically reduces the lateral drift, the sideways movement.
This makes them perfect for humanitarian airdrops of food or medicine into tight, specific locations.
The insight is a beautiful one. Sometimes, to make something stronger and more stable, you don't add to it. You strategically take something away.
The kirigami parachute stability comes from its holes. It's a powerful metaphor for how innovation can be found in subtraction, not just addition.
Practice saying, kirigami-inspired parachutes use slits to reduce lateral drift and ensure a stable, vertical descent.
In short, the kirigami parachute demonstrates the counterintuitive principle that creating strategic voids can lead to greater stability and control.
Let's talk about the Indian economy. Why Indian capital needs to invest domestically.
The numbers are quite stark. India's R&D spending is just 0.64% of our GDP, compared to China's 2.1%.
And the private sector's share in that R&D is only 36%.
There's a clear trend. Private capital expenditure, or capex, remains sluggish, even though corporate profits are at a 15-year high.
Most of the growth we're seeing is being driven by public capex.
This leads to a wage lag. Corporate profits are soaring, but real wage growth for workers is stagnating.
The insight is that corporate health and national economic health are not the same thing. High profits are not automatically translating into investment.
This disconnect highlights a fundamental challenge in India's growth model.
Practice this economic trend. Despite high corporate profits, private capex is sluggish in India and real wage growth is stagnating.
In short, the Indian economy is facing a paradox where record corporate profits are not fueling domestic investment or wage growth, revealing a disconnect in the growth engine.
Diving into the world of crypto, modernization of financial architecture, stablecoins.
Let's start with a clear definition. Stablecoins are crypto assets pegged to a stable asset, like the US dollar or gold, to maintain a stable value.
And there are three main types to know. First, fiat-backed, like USDT.
Second, crypto-backed, like DAI.
And third, algorithmic, like the infamous Terra USD, which collapsed spectacularly.
Regulators are catching up. The European Union has a comprehensive framework called MiCA. India is also moving from a position of extreme caution to one of engagement. The insight is that after years of treating crypto as a fringe speculative asset, regulators are now starting to see stablecoins as a potentially integral part of future financial infrastructure.
The focus is shifting from banning to regulating.
Let's practice the types. The three types of stablecoins are fiat-backed, crypto-backed, and algorithmic.
In short, the global regulatory shift towards engaging with stablecoins signals their potential transition from speculative assets to a regulated component of the financial system.
Let's circle back to that amazing fact from our introduction. By reusing old genes, bats became the only mammals able to fly.
It turns out bats kept the skin between their fingers, the chiropatagium, by suppressing a process called apoptosis.
Apoptosis is programmed cell death. In most mammals, including us, this process is what separates our digits in the womb.
Bats essentially found the off switch.
They achieved this using two specific genes, MEIS2 and TBX3, which are active in their wings but silent in the paws of a mouse.
So they didn't invent a new flying gene. They just repurposed an ancient don't die signal for cells.
The insight, once again, is about the genius of suppression in evolution. The bat swing was created not by adding something new, but by preventing the destruction of something old.
It's a reminder that progress can be achieved through preservation just as much as through invention.
Let's practice the key terms. Bats suppressed apoptosis using genes MEIS2 and TBX3 to form their wing membrane, the chiropathogeum.
In short, the evolution of the bat swing is a story of creative preservation, showing that revolutionary new forms can arise from simply stopping an old process.
Let's look up at the sky. What is a supermoon?
What is it? A supermoon is simply a full moon or a new moon that coincides with its perigee.
And perigee is the point in the moon's elliptical orbit where it is closest to Earth.
When this happens, the moon appears about 14% larger and 30% brighter. But does it have any real effect on Earth?
Yes, it does. It causes perigean spring tides. The moon's gravitational pull is stronger at perigee, leading to a higher tidal range.
So higher high tides and lower low tides.
The simple insight is that even celestial events that seem purely visual have real physical consequences on our planet.
A supermoon isn't just a photo opportunity. It's a gravitational event that literally moves our oceans.
Practice saying, a supermoon occurs at perigee and causes perigean spring tides.
In short, a supermoon is a reminder that we live in a dynamic gravitational system where even slight changes in cosmic alignment have tangible effects on Earth. A very serious issue now. Are workers' rights being eroded?
We've seen tragic industrial accidents recently, and a horrifying statistic. 1 in every 4 global workplace fatalities occurs in India.
The legal framework has been the Factories Act of 1948, which mandated regular government inspections.
However, the new Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions, OSWC, Code of 2020 has introduced changes.
And what are those changes?
The new code allows for self-certification by companies and has provisions that are seen as weakening the role of government inspectors.
Critics argue this is a fundamental shift from a mandatory inspection regime to a self-regulatory one.
The insight is that this is a classic ideological battle playing out in policy. State regulation versus corporate self-governance.
Rehearse this point of contention. The OSHWC Code 2020 moves towards self-certification, which critics say weakens the factory inspection regime.
In short, the new labor codes represent a philosophical shift from state-enforced to self-regulated worker safety, the effectiveness of which is now under intense scrutiny.
Now for a topic at the intersection of law and religion. What was behind the I Love Muhammad movement?
This relates to protests in UP over slogans used in religious processions.
This issue brings two fundamental rights into a delicate balance. On one hand, you have Article 19, which guarantees freedom of speech and expression.
On the other hand, you have Article 25, which guarantees freedom of religion.
And the core of the conflict is where one right ends and the other begins, especially in the public sphere.
The insight is that in a diverse society, fundamental rights are not absolute silos. They exist in a state of constant tension with each other.
Practice this. This issue involves the balance between Article 19, freedom of speech, and Article 25, freedom of religion.
In short, the controversy over religious slogans highlights that the true test of a constitution lies not in the rights it grants, but in how it resolves the inherent conflicts between them.
Let's turn to literature. Shock, horror, terror. How Dalit stories.
Dalit literature has been a powerful force for social justice. A landmark work is Baluta by Daya Pawar, the first Dalit autobiography in Marathi.
And this tradition of speaking truth to power continues. For example, Untouchable Goa by Dadu Mandrekar highlights caste practices that persist in Goa.
And the source also mentions the Gaude ritual in Goa, which reportedly involves the remains of the dead, highlighting how deeply certain traditions are embedded.
The insight is that Dalit literature is not just a genre. It's an act of bearing witness. Its purpose is to make the invisible visible.
And to force society to confront the uncomfortable truths it would rather ignore. It functions as a mirror.
Let's remember those key works. Practice. Key works in Dalit literature include Baluta by Daya Pawar and Untouchable Goa by Dadu Mandrekar.
In short, Dalit literature's primary function is testimonial, to document and expose lived realities of caste, thereby challenging the dominant narrative.
Next, an environmental challenge. India's invasive species present a dilemma.
Invasive alien species are a massive threat to our biodiversity. We have Lantana camara, the shrub you see everywhere.
Prosopis juliflora in Kutch, and the infamous water hyacinth, or Pontedera crassipes, which chokes our water bodies.
The impact is huge. They displace native species, alter soil chemistry, and threaten thousands of native species.
The insight is that invasive species are a form of biological colonization. They arrive, they outcompete the locals, they take over resources.
And they fundamentally change the ecosystem to suit themselves. It's an ecological crisis that mirrors historical patterns of human colonization.
Practice naming 102. Invasive species like Lantana camara and water hyacinth threaten India's native biodiversity.
In short, invasive species are ecological colonizers that disrupt and dominate native ecosystems, posing a major threat to biodiversity.
A quick sidebar on climate change and sports. Tennis stars suffer. Heat.
We're seeing more and more major sporting events being affected by extreme heat.
And scientists are clear. This is a direct consequence of human-driven climate change.
The insight is that climate change is no longer an abstract environmental issue. It has become a tangible factor affecting every aspect of human life.
When the weather forecast starts dictating the sports calendar, you know the problem has arrived.
In short, Extreme heat impacting sporting events is a clear sign that climate change has moved from a future threat to a present-day reality.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty of our democracy. What are the various electoral forms?
The process is governed by the Representation of the People Act 1950. There are 4 key forms every citizen should know.
Let's run through them. Form 6 is for registering as a new voter.
Form 6A is for an overseas or NRI voter.
Form 7 is used for objecting to a name or seeking its deletion.
And Form 8 is for any corrections or if you've shifted residence within the same constituency.
The insight is that democracy isn't just about voting. It's also about the meticulous bureaucratic process of maintaining the integrity of the voter roll.
These forms are the humble, essential tools that ensure the principle of one vote, one person is actually implemented.
Let's do a quick practice. Form 6 is for new voters, Form 7 for objections, and Form 8 for corrections.
In short, electoral forms are the bureaucratic bedrock of democracy, translating the abstract right to vote into a verifiable, registered reality.
Now, a business story from Tamil Nadu. Why are tea and food outlets opting for a new delivery partner?
The big issue for restaurants has been the high commissions charged by major food delivery aggregators, which can be as high as 30-35%.
This has led to the rise of an alternative called Zaros.
Instead of a percentage commission, Zaros uses a subscription model, charging restaurants a flat monthly fee.
It's gaining a lot of traction, especially in Tier 2 towns.
This is a classic market disruption story. The insight is that when a business model is perceived as exploitative, it creates an opportunity for a new model.
Zaros isn't competing on technology, but on a fundamentally fairer business relationship with its partners.
In short, the rise of subscription-based food delivery apps shows that market disruption can be driven by a more equitable business model, not just superior technology.
Let's get into some mind-bending physics. The curious history of how quantum mechanics seen.
The 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded for directly observing quantum tunneling in macroscopic circuits.
The key component here is the Josephson junction. Can you give us an analogy?
Imagine a sandwich with 2 superconductors as the bread and a very thin insulator as the filling. Classically, no current should pass.
But in the quantum world,
A supercurrent can tunnel through the insulator. This is the fundamental building block for the most powerful quantum computers being built today.
the insight is that this Nobel-winning work allowed us to take one of the weirdest phenomena in the quantum world, tunneling, and harness it.
To build the very real physical hardware of the next generation of computing.
So turning a quantum ghost into a machine. Let's practice that. Josephson junctions allow quantum tunneling and are the basis for superconducting qubits.
In short, the 2025 Physics Nobel recognized the engineering feat of transforming a bizarre quantum effect into the foundational component of quantum computers.
A major public health issue next, why we need to change the way we talk about antibiotic resistance.
For a long time, the narrative has been about a war on bugs. But that's a flawed metaphor.
The new thinking is that we should focus on protecting our microbiome, the community of good bacteria in our body.
Antibiotics are indiscriminate. They are like carpet bombs that kill good bacteria along with the bad.
This can disrupt our gut-brain axis, metabolism, and immunity.
And the NDM1 controversy in 2010, where a resistance gene was named after New Delhi, showed how naming can create stigma.
Exactly. The insight is that we need to shift our metaphor from warfare to gardening.
Instead of waging a war on bugs, we should think about cultivating a healthy and resilient garden of microbes within us.
This changes the focus from indiscriminate killing to promoting balance and health.
Rehearse the new approach. We need to shift from a war on bugs to a narrative of protecting our microbiome.
In short, the fight against antibiotic resistance requires a new metaphor, not waging war on germs, but tending to the garden of our internal microbiome.
Staying on health, prioritizing mental health during emergencies.
The theme for World Mental Health Day 2025 was focused on mental health in catastrophes.
The statistics are sobering. It's estimated that 1 in every 5 people living in a conflict zone has a mental health condition like PTSD or depression.
This shows that mental health care is not a luxury, it's a critical and essential part of any humanitarian response.
The insight is that in a crisis, we often focus only on visible wounds, but the invisible wounds to the mind can be just as debilitating.
Prioritizing mental health in emergencies is an acknowledgement that true recovery requires healing both the body and the mind.
Psychological first aid is as vital as physical first aid.
In short, acknowledging the high prevalence of mental trauma in crisis zones is a crucial step towards making humanitarian aid truly holistic.
Let's talk about air pollution again, but with a new twist. Even on clear days, the air can still be chemically toxic.
We often focus on the PM 2.5 mass, but a new finding shows that the chemical composition of these particles matters a lot.
Specifically, metal-containing fine particles, MCFPs, especially those rich in iron, can cause significant oxidative stress in our bodies.
And this can happen even at low PM levels, on days that appear to be clear.
The insight is that our senses can deceive us when it comes to modern environmental threats. We think of pollution as the visible smog, but the most dangerous components might be invisible.
This means we need to move beyond what we can see and rely on more sophisticated chemical analysis to truly understand air quality.
Practice this key finding. Metal-containing fine particles, MCFPs, can be toxic even at low PM 2.5 levels.
In short, the toxicity of invisible, metal-containing particles in clear air shows that we must measure the chemical threat of pollution, not just its visible mass.
A cool tech story from India. RRI technique yields certified randomness.
Scientists at the Raman Research Institute, RRI, have used IBM's quantum computers to generate truly random numbers.
But how do you prove something is truly random? They certified it by demonstrating a violation of something called the Leggett-Gug inequality, or LGI.
LGI?
It's a concept in quantum mechanics that tests whether a system behaves classically or not. By showing a violation of this inequality with a single qubit, they could certify the randomness.
Why are true random numbers so important?
They're the absolute bedrock of modern cryptography and secure communications.
The insight here is that to create perfect security in our digital world, we have to draw upon the fundamental unpredictability of the quantum world.
True randomness, and therefore true security, is not something we can compute. It's something we have to borrow from nature itself.
Rehearse this. RI used the violation of the Leggett-Gug inequality, LGI, to certify true random numbers.
In short, the RRI's work shows that the ultimate source of digital security lies in harnessing the inherent randomness of the quantum realm.
Another round of snapshots, science shots.
First, Kopi Luwak coffee. The secret is the Asian palm civet. Its digestive system ferments the coffee beans, enhancing their flavor and aroma.
Next, the London underground mosquito. It was thought to be a recent evolution, but new research shows it actually evolved from a species in West Asia associated with the dawn of agriculture.
And finally, the whale pump. Whales are crucial for ocean health. Their feces recycles essential nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus to the surface, which boosts the growth of phytoplankton.
A quick recap, a civet's gut as a coffee processor, the ancient origins of a modern mosquito, and whales as the ocean's giant fertilizer pumps.
A council of multiple large language models working together outperformed a single AI in medical exams. Teamwork for AI. Interesting. Second, in biology, it's been shown that sperm mutations increase with the age of the father, a phenomenon known as the paternal age effect. Okay. And third, in ecology, a rare behavior was observed where bats were found to be hunting migratory birds in mid-flight. Now for the 2025 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Science. Why did MOFs pioneers win Chemistry Nobel? Broad micro-theme, material science and nanotechnology. Imagine a material that is like a sponge at the molecular level, with so much internal surface area that a single gram of it could cover an entire football field.
That material is a metal organic framework, or MOF. The Nobel Prize in Chemistry for 2025 went to Kitagawa, Robson, and Yagi for their pioneering work on these materials.
So what are they made of?
MOFs are porous crystals made of metal nodes connected by organic linkers. You can think of them as a molecular scale construction set.
What are the applications of such a porous material?
They are incredible. Because of their huge surface area, they are perfect for capturing and storing gases. So major applications include carbon capture, hydrogen storage, and filtering toxic gases from the air.
Any specific example?
Yes. A specific one, MOF 303, has been shown to be able to harvest water directly from desert air, which is a game-changing technology.
Conclusion for exam impact.
For the exam, remember the properties of MOFs, high surface area, porosity, and their key applications, especially carbon capture and storage, CCS, and water harvesting. Metal organic frameworks, or MOFs, are highly porous materials with applications in carbon capture, hydrogen storage, and water harvesting from air.
In short, the pioneers of MOFs won the Nobel Prize for creating a class of molecular sponges with the potential to solve major global challenges. And now, the Nobel Prize in Medicine. FAQ. How is the immune system kept in check? Broad microtheme, immunology and autoimmune diseases.
Our immune system is designed to attack invaders. But what stops it from attacking our own body?
That's the crucial role of what you could call the brakes of the immune system. The 2025 Nobel Prize in Medicine went to Brunkow, Ramsdell, and Sakaguchi for the discovery of these brakes.
And what are these brakes?
A special type of cell called regulatory T cells, or Tregs, and the master gene that controls them, FOXP3.
So what happens if these Tregs don't work properly?
If the Tregs are faulty, the immune system goes into overdrive and starts attacking the body's own tissues. This is what causes autoimmune diseases like type 1 diabetes or rheumatoid arthritis.
So this discovery has applications?
It has been revolutionary. In cancer immunotherapy, scientists are finding ways to release the brakes, temporarily allowing the immune system to attack cancer cells more effectively. And in organ transplantation, they are trying to apply the brakes to prevent the immune system from rejecting the new organ.
Incredible. Conclusion. For exam impact. For the exam, you must know the function of regulatory T cells, Tregs, the role of the FOXP3 gene, and their connection to autoimmune diseases, cancer immunotherapy, and organ transplants.
Regulatory T cells, or Tregs, controlled by the FOXP3 gene, act as the brakes of the immune system to prevent autoimmune diseases.
In short, the discovery of Tregs and the FOXP3 gene explained how the immune system regulates itself, opening new doors for treating cancer and autoimmune diseases. And a final follow-up on the Physics Nobel. FAQ, what is macroscopic quantum tunneling? Broad microtheme. Quantum physics.
So let's revisit this. A whole electrical circuit behaving like one tiny particle and passing through a wall. How is that possible?
It's one of the deepest mysteries of quantum mechanics. The device, as we discussed, is the Josephson junction. The phenomenon is that the collective state of the entire circuit, a macroscopic object with billions of atoms, can tunnel through an energy barrier.
And it does this as one single entity.
Yes. It doesn't break into pieces. The whole system transitions from one state to another in a quantum leap.
What's the significance of this?
Quantum mechanics isn't confined to the microscopic world of single atoms and electrons. It laid the foundation for a whole new field called circuit quantum electrodynamics, CQED, which is how we control and read out the state of superconducting qubits in today's quantum computers.
Okay, conclusion for exam impact. The key idea for an MCQ is to understand the difference between macroscopic and microscopic quantum effects and to know the utility of the Josephson junction in enabling this phenomenon and its applications in quantum computing.
Macroscopic quantum tunneling, first observed in a Josephson junction, is the phenomenon of an entire circuit behaving like a single quantum particle.
Now, in short, the confirmation of macroscopic quantum effects in a Josephson junction was a critical step in building functional quantum computers. Let's move to October 13th. TNC, voting patterns of Muslims in Simanchal. Broad micro-theme, political sociology and geography.
Simanchal in Bihar is a region with a unique demographic and political landscape. Let's understand its social structure.
First, the geography. Simanchal comprises districts like Kishanganj, Katihar, Araria and Purnia in Bihar.
Right.
Sociologically, the Muslim community there is not monolithic. It's stratified into various castes. The source mentions the Sarjapuri, who are dominant, the Shershabadi, who are migrants with a Bengali dialect, and others like the Kulhaya and Sikhra.
And there are sectarian divisions as well, not just caste.
Yes, the three main sects are the Barelvi, who follow a more Sufi-influenced tradition, the Deobandi, who are more reformist, and the Ahle Hadith, who are strict textualists. These caste and sectarian identities often play a role in shaping voting patterns.
So it's similar to the Ashraf Pasmanda discourse.
Yes, it implies a similar context.
Conclusion for exam impact. For the exam, knowing the geography of Simanchal is important. The social stratification details are useful for understanding the complexities of identity politics in India, which is relevant for mains.
The Simanchal region of Bihar has a complex social fabric, with various Muslim castes like Surjapuri and Shershabadi, and sects like Barelvi and Deobandi.
In short, the voting patterns in Simanchal are shaped by intricate caste and sectarian divisions within the Muslim community, not just a single religious identity.
Let's talk about the highest honor in mathematics.
Science.
Abel Laureate, Masaki Kashiwara. Broad micro-theme. Higher mathematics and its applications.
While the Nobel Prize doesn't have a category for mathematics, the Abel Prize is considered its equivalent.
That's right. The Abel Prize is the highest honor in mathematics. The laureate mentioned is Masaki Kashiwara. His work is in some very advanced areas, including algebraic analysis and the theory of D-modules.
D-modules.
It's a sophisticated way of solving differential equations using algebraic methods. He also worked on something called the Riemann-Hilbert correspondence.
Does this abstract math have any real-world application? Yes, it does, particularly in theoretical physics. One of the applications of his work is in representation theory. This is a branch of mathematics that is used extensively in quantum physics to describe the symmetries of particles and their interactions. So this very abstract math provides the language for describing the fundamental nature of reality.
Wow. Conclusion for exam impact. For prelims, the key fact is that the Abel Prize is for mathematics. For a broader understanding, it's good to know that abstract mathematical fields like representation theory have crucial applications in physics.
The Abel Prize is the highest award in mathematics, and laureates like Kashiwara have worked on concepts like representation theory, which is used in quantum physics.
The work of Abel Prize winners often reveals deep connections between abstract mathematics and the fundamental laws of physics. Now, for a creature that seems to defy aging, science. A mere 4 mutations help naked mole rat live long. Broad micro-theme, biology of aging, and genetics.
There's a rodent that can live for over 37 years, is resistant to cancer, and barely seems to age. Meet the naked mole rat.
The naked mole rat, or Heterocephalus glaber, is one of the most fascinating creatures in biology. It is the longest living rodent known. The secret to its longevity and cancer resistance seems to lie in its genes, specifically a gene called CGAS.
What does this CGAS gene do in humans?
In humans, the CGAS gene plays a role in our immune response, but its overactivation is also linked to inflammation and the aging process.
And in naked mole rats, it's different.
Yes. In naked mole rats, this gene has mutated. These mutations change its function. Instead of just triggering inflammation, the mutated CGAS gene in naked mole rats actually enhances the process of DNA repair, specifically through a mechanism called homologous recombination.
So better DNA repair means slower aging? Better DNA repair means less cellular damage, slower aging, and lower cancer risk. Conclusion for exam. Impact. For the exam, remember the unique traits of the naked mole rat, longevity, cancer resistance, and the role of the CGAS gene in DNA repair in this species.
In the naked mole rat, a mutated CGAS gene enhances DNA repair through homologous recombination, contributing to its longevity and cancer resistance.
In short, the naked mole rat's extraordinary lifespan is linked to mutations that turned a pro-aging gene into a pro-longevity and DNA repair gene. Let's move to international relations on October 14th. TNC. A realignment of Pak-Afghan relations. Broad micro-theme. Geopolitics of South Asia.
The relationship between Pakistan and the Taliban-led Afghanistan is becoming increasingly strained. What are the key issues?
There are several points of friction. The first is the Durand Line, the disputed border between the two countries.
Right.
Second is Pakistan's major security concern, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, TTP, which uses sanctuaries in Afghanistan to launch attacks against Pakistan.
And the third?
Third, Pakistan has recently started deporting a large number of Afghan refugees, and there have been frequent border closures at key crossings like Torkham and Chaman.
Is the Taliban looking for other allies because of this?
Yes. This friction is pushing the Taliban to reduce its traditional dependence on Pakistan. They are actively seeking better ties with other regional players, including India, China, and Russia. This represents a significant geopolitical realignment in the region.
Interesting. Conclusion for exam impact. For prelims, knowing the geography of the Durand Line and key border crossings like Torkham is important. For mains, this is a classic example of changing geopolitical dynamics in India's neighborhood.
The Pak-Afghan relationship is strained due to the TTP issue and border disputes, leading the Taliban to seek closer ties with India, China, and Russia.
In short, Pakistan's relationship with the Afghan Taliban is deteriorating over security issues, causing a significant shift in regional geopolitics. Next, a brief history of something we think about every day. TNC. Counting calories. A brief history. Broad micro-theme. History of science and nutrition.
The word calorie is everywhere, on every food packet. But where did this concept come from?
The calorie is a unit of energy, and its application to food has a fascinating history. The French chemist Antoine Lavoisier was one of the pioneers. Through his experiments, he realized that respiration in our bodies is a form of slow combustion, similar to burning a candle.
And then who took it forward?
An American scientist named Wilbur Olin Atwater developed the science of calorimetry and created the first detailed tables of the calorie values of different foods.
Has our understanding of nutrition moved beyond just counting calories?
Absolutely. The simple calories in, calories out model is now seen as outdated. The modern approach is shifting towards nutrigenomics.
The study of how food interacts with genes, yes, which is the study of how different foods interact with your specific genes. It's about personalized nutrition, recognizing that the same number of calories from different foods can have very different effects on different people.
Conclusion. For exam, impact. For the exam, know the definition of a calorie as a unit of energy and the key contributions of scientists like Lavoisier and Atwater.
The concept of the calorie was pioneered by scientists like Lavoisier and Atwater, but modern nutrition is moving towards personalized nutrigenomics. In short, our understanding of nutrition has evolved from simple calorie counting to the sophisticated science of how food interacts with our individual genes. Now, to the high mountains of Asia. Science. Snow leopards. Least genetically diverse. Broad micro-theme. Conservation genetics. The snow leopard, the elusive ghost of the mountains, is facing a hidden threat, a lack of genetic diversity.
That's right. The species, Panthera ansia, has been found to have the lowest genetic diversity or heterozygosity among all big cats. This is usually a bad sign for a species' long-term survival.
But the source says something interesting about purging. What's that? It sounds counterintuitive.
This is the surprising twist. The reason for their low diversity is that the snow leopard population went through a bottleneck in the past, becoming very small. This small population size had an unexpected benefit. It purged many of the deleterious or harmful mutations from the gene pool.
So while they have low diversity, the genes they do have are relatively healthy.
Exactly. Regarding their status, India has about 718 snow leopards, with the highest concentration in Ladakh. They are listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List.
Conclusion for exam impact. For the exam, you must know the IUCN status of the snow leopard, vulnerable, its main habitat range in India, Ladakh, and this interesting concept of genetic purging. In short, the snow leopard's genetics reveal a complex story of low diversity but potential resilience, though conservation efforts remain critical. Sticking with the IUCN Red List. Science. Arctic seals, birds in new Red List. IUCN. Broad micro-theme, biodiversity and climate change.
The IUCN Red List is constantly being updated as the status of species changes. What are some of the latest updates?
The source highlights a couple of key changes. The hooded seal, an Arctic species, has been moved from vulnerable to the more threatened category of endangered.
That's bad news. Any good news?
Yes. On a positive note, the green turtle has shown signs of recovery and is no longer listed as endangered globally, though some subpopulations are still threatened.
What are the main threats driving these changes? For the hooded seal and other Arctic species, the primary threat is climate change, specifically the loss of sea ice, which they depend on for breeding and resting. Increased maritime traffic in the Arctic is also a major disturbance. Conclusion. For exam impact. For prelims, questions on recent changes in the IUCN Red List status of key species are common. Remember, the status changes for the hooded seal worsened to endangered and the green turtle improved.
In the latest IUCN update, the hooded seal status was changed to endangered due to climate change, while the green turtle has recovered.
In short, the latest IUCN Red List updates show a mixed picture. with climate change pushing Arctic species like the hooded seal closer to extinction. Let's jump to October 15th and the Nobel Prize in Economics. TNC, How Innovation Drives Economic Growth, Nobel. Broad micro theme, Economics of Innovation.
Ever wondered कि पुरानी टेक्नोलॉजी को खत्म करके नई टेक्नोलॉजी लाना अर्थव्यवस्था के लिए अच्छा क्यों है? This is where it gets really interesting.
The 2025 Economics Nobel was awarded to Mocker, Aghion, and Howitt for their work on this very idea. The core theory is called creative destruction, a concept originally from the economist Joseph Schumpeter.
Right.
It states that long-term economic growth is driven by a continuous process of innovation that destroys old, inefficient industries and creates new, more productive ones.
स्मार्टफोन ने लैंडलाइन फोन और कैमरास के बाजार को डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया, पर इससे एक पूरी नई ऐप इकोनॉमी क्रिएट हुई.
That's creative destruction.
Perfect example.
The theory also distinguishes between two types of knowledge. Propositional knowledge, which is the theoretical understanding of why things work.
The practical how-to.
Correct.
The Nobel laureates argued that governments should subsidize R&D because the benefits of innovation, what economists call spillover effects, are reaped more by society as a whole than by the individual inventor. Conclusion for exam impact. For Mains, the theory of creative destruction and the relationship between innovation and economic growth are very important concepts for questions on industrial policy and economic development.
Creative destruction is the process where new innovations dismantle old industries, leading to economic growth.
अब अर्थव्यवस्था से अंतरिक्ष की ओर चलते हैं, गगनयान के बारे में जानते हैं.
TNC. How does Gaganyaan crew escape system work? Broad micro theme, space technology. Sending humans to space is risky. What happens if the rocket fails during launch? India's Gaganyaan mission has a high-tech solution.
It's called the Crew Escape System, or CES. This is a critical safety feature. There are two main types of systems. Gaganyaan uses a puller system.
A puller system.
Yes, where a set of powerful rockets on top of the crew module pulls it away from the failing launch vehicle. In contrast, systems like SpaceX's Crew Dragon use a pusher system, where the escape rockets are integrated into the capsule and push it away.
Why is this so important for our rocket, the HLVM-3?
The launch vehicle for Gaganyaan is the HLVM-3. Its powerful solid boosters, once ignited, cannot be shut down. This means if something goes wrong, you can't just turn off the engine. You need an incredibly fast CES to get the crew to safety.
And this was tested recently. Yes, this system was recently validated in a crucial test called TVD-1, which tested its performance in the transonic regime, one of the most aerodynamically stressful phases of flight. Conclusion for exam pack. For prelims, you should know the function of a CES, the difference between puller and pusher systems, and the characteristics of the HLVM-3 rocket.
Gaganyaan uses a puller-type crew escape system to pull the crew module to safety, which is essential because the HLVM-3's solid boosters cannot be shut down.
In short, Gaganyaan's crew escape system is a powerful, life-saving technology designed to ensure astronaut safety in the event of a launch failure. From space, back to our oceans. Science. Microplastics pollution threatens Goa. Broad micro theme, marine pollution.
We know plastic pollution is a problem, but it's the tiny, invisible pieces that might be the most dangerous.
These are microplastics, which are plastic particles less than 5 millimeters in size. The problem is that they get into the food chain. This process is called trophic transfer.
And it's important to understand the difference between bioaccumulation and biomagnification, right?
Yes. Bioaccumulation is the buildup of a substance in a single organism, and biomagnification is the increasing concentration of that substance as it moves up the food chain.
And a study in Goa found them everywhere.
Yes. The study found higher contamination in the benthic zone, which is the seafloor, compared to the pelagic zone, which is the open water. This is because microplastics tend to sink.
And the impact on marine life, it's severe. It has been shown to disrupt gene expression in fish. And because we eat the fish, these microplastics pose a risk to human health as well. Conclusion for exam. Impact. For the exam, know the definition of microplastics, the difference between the benthic and pelagic zones, and the concept of bioaccumulation.
Microplastics undergo trophic transfer in marine ecosystems, with higher concentrations found in the benthic zone compared to the pelagic zone.
In short, the widespread contamination of Goa's waters with microplastics highlights the threat they pose as they accumulate in the marine food web.
Moving to October 16th, let's talk about the future of the IMEC.
IMEC, which is the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. It's a major connectivity project.
Right, involving a maritime and a rail leg.
Yes, a maritime leg from India to the Arabian Peninsula, and then a rail network from the UAE to the port of Haifa in Israel. Geopolitically, Mediterranean countries like Italy and France are backing IMEC to counter the growing influence of the Russia-China-led Arctic route.
And it's more than just transport.
Yes, the plan includes a clean hydrogen pipeline and high-speed digital cables.
Interesting. Next, fiscal architecture of municipalities. This is a critical issue of urban governance. The statistic is shocking. Urban India generates 2/3 of the country's GDP, but the municipalities control less than 1% of the total tax revenue. That's a massive imbalance.
It is. The 74th Amendment decentralized responsibilities to cities, but failed to decentralize fiscal power. The goods and services tax, GST, made it worse, as cities lost key revenue sources like octroi and entry tax.
And this is different from other models?
Yes. It's in sharp contrast to, for example, the Scandinavian model, where cities have the power to levy income tax. A stark contrast indeed. Now, on death by devotion, hero worship, This is an ethical and political point. It references B.R. Ambedkar's famous warning from 1949, where he said that bhakti, or devotion, in religion may be a path to salvation.
But bhakti in politics is a sure route to degradation and eventual dictatorship.
Exactly. The source also quotes Bhagat Singh, who criticized the idea of leaders being infallible, and M.N. Roy, who argued that hero worship is the main culprit behind many political problems.
Strong words. Let's talk about India's biotech surge.
India has a new Bio S3 policy, which aims to build a $300 billion bioeconomy by 2030. India is already a powerhouse in vaccine manufacturing, supplying 60% of the global DPT, BCG, and measles vaccines.
But there are gaps.
Yes. We lack sufficient GMP or good manufacturing practice certified facilities, and there's a shortage of phase 2 capital, which is crucial for clinical trials and product development.
And a new phase of matter, a time rondo crystal.
Yes, this is cutting-edge physics. A time rondo crystal, or TRC, is a unique state of matter. Unlike a normal time crystal, which is perfectly periodic over time, a TRC shows regularity only over long intervals, but appears random in short intervals.
So it's a more complex form of time crystal.
Yes, a more nuanced form of temporal order. It was created experimentally using the spins of carbon-13 atoms embedded in a diamond.
Fascinating. Let's move to October 17th. Restoring fiscal space for states.
This is about fiscal federalism. Article 246 and 246A of the Constitution deal with the division of taxation powers. With GST, much of this power has shifted to the GST Council.
And this creates an imbalance.
A huge vertical imbalance. The center collects about 67% of the total tax revenue, but bears only 48% of the expenditure. States, on the other hand, bear 52% of the expenditure.
And cesses make it worse.
Yes, the center imposes many cesses which are not shared with the states. So while the 15th Finance Commission recommended a 41% share for states, the effective devolution is only around 31%. One solution proposed is to allow states to share the personal income tax base.
A critical issue. Now about dopamine overdose.
This is about the neuroscience of addiction. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in our brain associated with reward and pleasure. The key neural circuit is the mesolimbic pathway, running from an area called the VTA to the nucleus accumbens.
And digital technology hijacks this.
Yes, digital technologies, especially social media, with its constant notifications and likes, are designed to hijack this very pathway, mimicking the effects of addictive drugs. This constant overstimulation can lead to desensitization, where you need a bigger and bigger hit to feel the same pleasure.
And this has led to the concept of dopamine fasting.
Exactly, which is an attempt to reset the brain's sensitivity by abstaining from these stimuli.
Something we all should think about. Next, invest in your spine, a major public health issue. Low back pain is one of the leading causes of disability worldwide. The mechanism is simple. Walking and movement help to hydrate the intervertebral discs in our spine, keeping them healthy. But sitting for long periods is bad. Yes, a static posture compresses these discs. The source also gives a dietary tip. Good sources of calcium include ragi and small river fish that are eaten with their bones. Let's jump to October 19th. The most ancient Indian wolf.
We are talking about the Indian wolf, Canis lupus palapis. It's a significant subspecies because it's considered the oldest living lineage of wolves in the world.
And its conservation status.
It's vulnerable on the IUCN list, and it's in Schedule 1 of India's Wildlife Protection Act, giving it the highest level of protection. The main threats are habitat loss, for example from the expansion of solar farms in Kutch, and human-wildlife conflict.
Now for a microbial link to arsenic and rice.
This is about a disease in rice plants called straight head disease, which causes sterility and crop loss. The cause has been linked to arsenic in the soil and a specific type of bacteria.
How do the bacteria cause this?
These methylating bacteria convert the less harmful inorganic arsenic in the soil into highly toxic organic forms like DMA and DMMTA, which are then absorbed by the rice plant.
And the solution?
A simple mitigation strategy is mid-season drainage of the paddy fields. This introduces oxygen into the soil, which suppresses the activity of these harmful bacteria.
From microbes in soil to insects on the table. Insects from table to table.
The practice of eating insects is called entomophagy. It's common in many cultures.
What are some examples from India?
The Chakisang and Angami tribes of Nagaland eat the Asian giant hornet, while the Irula tribe in Tamil Nadu consumes weaver ants. Globally, a famous example is the Mexican dish escamole, which consists of ant larvae and is known as the caviar of the desert.
Interesting. A few quick snapshots from the 19th.
First, traces of lead have been found in the 2-million-year-old teeth of early hominids, showing ancient exposure. Second, some species of ants build their nests in a specific way to limit the spread of disease, a concept called architectural immunity.
And third?
The South Atlantic anomaly, a weak spot in the Earth's magnetic field, is expanding. This allows more radiation from space to dip closer to the Earth's surface, which can affect satellites.
Let's talk about India-Taliban relations.
This is a significant shift in India's foreign policy. India is in the process of upgrading its technical mission in Kabul to full embassy status. This signals a move towards formal engagement with the Taliban regime.
And the reasons are pragmatic.
Ensuring security against anti-India groups, promoting trade through routes like Chabahar, and providing humanitarian aid. Geopolitically, the growing conflict between the Taliban and Pakistan over the TTP issue is also pushing the Taliban to look for other partners like India. Next up, elephants. Jumbo challenge.
A report called Status of Elephants in India by the Wildlife Institute of India has provided new data. A key change is the survey method. They have moved from direct visual counts to a more accurate DNA-based mark recapture technique called SOI.
And the numbers?
The stats show that Karnataka has the highest elephant population with over 6,000 individuals, and the Northeast is the second best habitat. A major issue remains habitat fragmentation, often due to the expansion of coffee and tea estates in elephant corridors.
And finally for this date, PF withdrawal guidelines.
This relates to the Employees Provident Fund Organization, or EPFO. There have been reforms to allow higher withdrawal limits and easier ATM-like access to funds for operational convenience.
But this has a downside. Yes, it has raised a major concern that making it easier to withdraw money could lead to the erosion of the social security net. People might be tempted to withdraw their savings for short-term needs, leaving them with an insufficient retirement corpus. Moving to October 20th. Emergency care privatized. There's a new term to remember in emergency medicine, the platinum 10 minutes. This supersedes the older concept of the golden hour. It emphasizes the extreme urgency of the first few minutes after a trauma.
And the legal framework. The policy framework is the National Ambulance Code AS-125. Legally, the right to life under Article 21 has been interpreted by courts to include the right to emergency medical care. The source notes that while there are gaps, Tamil Nadu's 108 ambulance model is cited as an effective system.
Now to the world of AI ethics.
OpenAI offering outrage. The tech company OpenAI proposed a policy change that would allow the generation of NSFW or erotica content for verified adult users. This sparked a huge debate.
Two sides to the debate, I assume?
Yes. On one side is the argument to treat adults like adults and allow freedom of expression. On the other side are major concerns about child safety and the potential for misuse. The source compares this to Elon Musk's Grok AI, which already allows the generation of sensitive content. A complex debate. Let's talk about India in medicine. Immunology.
Immunology is becoming central to modern medicine, and several recent Nobel Prizes are linked to it. The 2018 Prize for Cancer Immunotherapy, checkpoint inhibitors, the 2023 Prize for mRNA vaccines, and the 2025 Prize for regulatory T cells.
So what should India do? The source argues that India needs to build on this by investing in research on our local population's genetics and developing affordable indigenous immunotherapies like the CAR T-cell therapy for cancer. And a very interesting term, botanical sexism.
Yes.
The term botanical sexism was coined by Tom Ogren. It refers to the practice in urban planning of preferentially planting male trees.
Why would they do that?
The reason is that female trees produce fruits, seeds, or pods, which can create a mess on sidewalks and roads. But this has an unintended consequence. Male trees produce pollen. By planting an overwhelming number of male trees, cities have inadvertently created pollen bombs, leading to a much higher pollen count in the air and a subsequent increase in urban allergies and asthma.
Wow. That's a classic case of unintended consequences. Let's jump to October 22nd. On CBI takeovers.
This is about the powers of the judiciary versus the executive. The Supreme Court recently transferred the probe into the Karur Stampede case from the state police to the CBI.
And the legal principle?
The legal principle here is that courts, under their writ jurisdiction in Article 32 and 226, can order a CBI probe even if the state government has withdrawn its general consent for the CBI to operate in the state. This was established in the case West Bengal versus Committee for Protection of Democratic Rights.
But this power isn't unlimited.
No, the court has also said that this power must be used only in rare and exceptional circumstances.
Next, electoral roll revamp.
This refers to the Special Intensive Revision, SIR, of electoral rolls. The technology behind this is ECInet, a massive database of nearly 1 billion voters managed by CDAC.
But there are issues.
Yes. The source points to problems like the exclusion of Aadhaar as a valid proof for registration and cases of voter names being deleted without proper notice. This highlights the need for better digital audit trails to ensure the process is transparent and fair.
Now for the drunken monkey hypothesis.
It's a real scientific hypothesis. A recent study found that wild chimpanzees regularly consume naturally fermented fruits that contain 1 to 2% ethanol.
And this supports the hypothesis.
Yes, it supports the drunken monkey hypothesis, which suggests that our primate ancestors' attraction to the smell of alcohol was an evolutionary advantage. The smell of fermenting fruit indicated a source of ripe, calorie-rich food.
Interesting.
The ability to metabolize ethanol increased significantly in apes due to a genetic mutation about 10 million years ago, long before humans started brewing beer.
And flashes in the pan on the moon.
These are called transient lunar phenomena, or TLPs. They are short-lived changes in light or color on the surface of the moon.
What causes them?
They are mysterious, but scientists have a few hypotheses. It could be outgassing, where gases like radon escape from the lunar interior, impacts from meteoroids, or electrostatic dust levitation. Two of the most active sites for TLPs are the Aristarchus and Plato craters.
Moving to October 23rd, TTP challenge to Pakistan.
The Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, has been escalating its violence, particularly in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Their goal is the demerger of the former FATA, federally administered tribal areas, from the province and the imposition of Sharia law.
And this is a backfiring of Pakistan's own policy.
Yes, it's a classic case of a strategic policy backfiring. Pakistan's long-standing strategic depth policy, where it supported the Afghan Taliban, has come back to haunt it, as the Afghan Taliban are now seen as supporting the TTP.
Let's discuss Dalit stories in literature.
There has been a powerful rise of Dalit autobiographies in Indian literature, giving voice to lived experiences of caste oppression. Seminal works include Baluta by Daya Pawar, which tells the story of the Mahar community, and The Prisons We Broke by Baby Kamble.
And any newer works?
A newer work mentioned is Untouchable Goa by Dadu Mandrekar, which documents a specific ritual called the Gade ritual, providing a perspective from a region not often associated with such narratives.
Next, India's self-reliance in solar physics.
India is making big strides in studying the sun. The Aditya L1 mission, positioned at Lagrange Point 1, is our flagship solar observatory.
And there are plans for more? Yes.
There are proposals for future satellites at Lagrange points L4 and L5. Having satellites at L1, L4 and L5 would create a triangular formation, allowing for 3D tracking of coronal mass ejections, CMEs, which is crucial for accurate space weather forecasting. On the ground, there is also a proposal for a national large solar telescope.
And atomic stencils.
This is a remarkable nanotechnology technique. It's called atomic stenciling. The process involves using individual iodide atoms as masks on the surface of gold nanoparticles. Polymers or other molecules then attach themselves only to the unmasked areas.
Creating precise patterns.
Yes, incredibly precise patterns at the nanoscale. The applications are in creating advanced metamaterials and for things like targeted drug delivery systems.
Let's move to October 24th. Monsoons affect Tamil Nadu.
Tamil Nadu faces a unique geographical challenge. Its main rainy season is the northeast monsoon from October to December. However, the state also receives water from the Mullaperiyar Dam, which is located in Kerala and filled by the southwest monsoon.
So what's the problem?
The problem is that when Kerala releases excess water from Mullaperiyar during its rainy season, it often coincides with Tamil Nadu's own rainy season. This water flows into the Vaigai River in TN, creating a double whammy effect and leading to severe flooding.
A tough situation. Now, Punjab's stubble burning paradox. Here's the puzzle. Data showed that the number of farm fire counts in Punjab, detected by thermal sensors on satellites, had declined. But when scientists looked at the total burnt area using different satellites, they found it had actually increased. How is that possible?
Farmers have become smart. They have figured out the timing of the satellite passes that use thermal sensors like MODIS and are avoiding burning during that window. These sensors detect active fires.
But other satellites can see the damage later.
Exactly. Other satellites with optical sensors like Sentinel-2 can detect the burn scars on the ground long after the fire is out. These optical sensors reveal the true, larger extent of the burned area. This shows that relying on a single type of data can be very misleading.
A classic case of data needing context. Next, cloud seeding, not a solution.
Cloud seeding is often proposed as a solution for air pollution in Delhi, but the source says it's not a silver bullet. The mechanism involves spraying particles like silver iodide into clouds, which act as nuclei for ice crystals to form, hopefully inducing rain.
But there are limitations.
Two major limitations. First, it requires existing moisture in clouds, but the Delhi winter is typically very dry. Second, there are environmental concerns about the toxicity of silver iodide accumulating in the environment.
And what happens when you burst firecrackers in the rain?
It actually makes the pollution worse. This is because on an overcast or rainy day, the mixing height of the atmosphere is lower.
Acting like a lid.
Yes, trapping the pollutants close to the surface. Furthermore, the high humidity promotes the formation of secondary pollutants, like smog, making the air even more foul.
Let's talk about life after mastectomy.
A mastectomy is the surgical removal of a breast, usually to treat cancer. It has profound physical and psychological impacts. A common physical side effect is lymphedema, which is a painful swelling in the arm.
And psychologically?
It can be very traumatic. The source highlights that women now have choices. Some opt for breast reconstruction surgery, while others are choosing to go flat. This is increasingly seen not as a lack of an option, but as a positive and empowering choice.
And child's ICU stay support.
A child's stay in the intensive care unit can have long-lasting consequences. A significant number of survivors, about 10 to 20%, suffer from something called post-intensive care syndrome, or PICS.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms can include muscle weakness, cognitive decline, and psychological issues. This highlights the need for dedicated follow-up clinics for these children after they're discharged and support for their reintegration into school.
Let's take some snapshots from October 26th.
First, civet coffee, also known as kopi luwak, is made from coffee beans that have been eaten and excreted by a civet. The fermentation process in the animal's gut increases the fat content of the beans, changing their flavor.
Okay.
Second, the London underground mosquito is a distinct subspecies that evolved in the underground tunnels just in the last 100 years or so. And third, the whale pump.
The whale pump.
Whales often defecate near the ocean surface. Their feces are rich in nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, and this acts as a fertilizer for phytoplankton, playing a crucial role in marine ecosystems.
Next, beware the sugar trap.
This is a fascinating link between climate and diet. A study found that there is a correlation between ambient temperature and sugar intake. Specifically, temperatures between 12 and 30 degrees Celsius are associated with higher sugar consumption.
And this is a concern for India?
Yes, because India is already facing the double burden of malnutrition on one hand and a rapid increase in the consumption of ultra-processed foods on the other.
Let's talk about Google's AI for drug discovery.
Google has developed an AI model called C2S scale. In a remarkable feat, this AI was able to predict that an existing drug called silmetasirtib could be effective for treating a certain type of tumor, something it was not originally designed for.
So AI is learning the rules, not just patterns.
Exactly. This could massively accelerate drug discovery.
But do we need an AI detox?
This is the cognitive science perspective. The concern is that over-reliance on generative AI for tasks that require thinking and synthesis could lead to mental muscle atrophy.
So what's the strategy? Practice a form of AI detox by doing some tasks manually. Also to use triage. Use AI for low-level tasks like formatting, but reserve the crucial work of synthesis and critical thinking for the human brain.
What about green crackers? Are they really green?
Green crackers were developed by CSIRNERI. The technology involves using additives like zeolite that absorb pollutants and formulations that release water vapor to suppress dust.
But they are still polluting?
Yes, while they are less polluting than traditional crackers, they are still polluting. During Diwali, even in areas where only green crackers were supposedly used, the air quality still plummeted to the very poor category.
And Google's quantum advantage? Google has claimed to have achieved quantum advantage with its new quantum processor called Willow. This means their quantum computer was able to solve a problem that would be practically impossible for even the most powerful classical supercomputers.
On what problems? They demonstrated this on two specific problems, a DQI algorithm and OTOC. They solved these in hours, while a classical computer would take years. This has applications in a field called Hamiltonian learning. Finally, an update on US H-1B visa.
The US has clarified its H-1B visa rules, which is a relief for many Indians. The key change is that certain fees, which could be up to $4,000, will no longer be charged for extending an existing visa or for switching categories. For example, a student on an F1 visa moving to an H-1B work visa.
Let's move to October 27th. IUCN red-flagged Western Ghats.
The IUCN has released its World Heritage Outlook 4 report, and it has placed India's Western Ghats in the category of significant concern. This is a downgrade in their conservation outlook.
What are the threats?
Large-scale infrastructure projects like the Silahala pumped storage project in the Nilgiris and the continuous spread of invasive alien species.
Next, paddy farmers of TN.
This is an agricultural procurement crisis in the Kaveri Delta region of Tamil Nadu. Unseasonal rains have caused the moisture content in the harvested paddy to go above the 17% limit set for procurement.
So farmers can't sell their crops.
Exactly. This highlights the vulnerability of farmers to climate change and the need for more flexible procurement policies. The procurement is done under the Decentralized Procurement Scheme.
And roots for early autism.
A new study on autism spectrum disorder, ASD, suggests that there might be two distinct genetic pathways for the condition. One pathway leads to early onset autism, where social communication issues are visible in toddlers.
And the other?
The other pathway leads to late onset autism, which is often diagnosed in adolescence. Interestingly, this late onset form is often linked to other conditions like ADHD and anxiety, and sometimes with a high IQ.
Moving to October 28th, Hanle protects dark skies.
Hanle, in Ladakh, is home to India's first dark sky reserve. It's located within the Changthang Wildlife Sanctuary. The skies there are rated as Bottle 1, which is the darkest possible sky.
And it's an astronomical site?
Yes, it's the location of the Indian Astronomical Observatory, which houses the Himalayan Chandra telescope. The reserve status means there are strict regulations on light pollution.
Next, a hovering complex brain. Or not.
For a long time, scientists believed that the ability of an insect to hover required a very complex brain. But a new discovery suggests the mechanism is much simpler. It's based on a feedback loop called extremum seeking, ES.
A sophisticated form of trial and error.
Exactly. The insect's wings make tiny, random-looking adjustments. The brain senses whether the flight improved or worsened and then reinforces the good adjustments. This simple solution is now being used to design more efficient, bio-inspired drones.
From insects to international politics, China's officials expelled.
There have been major purges within China's military leadership. The source mentions that 9 high-ranking officials from the PLA's rocket force have been expelled from the party.
And the reason?
The official reason is corruption, but analysts also point to factionalism within the military, specifically between what are known as the Fujian and Shanxi gangs. This has raised serious concerns about the combat readiness of China's strategic missile forces.
Let's talk about the Dogri language.
Resonance. Dogri is a language spoken primarily in the Jammu region. It received official recognition when it was included in the 8th schedule of the Constitution in 2003 and was made one of the official languages of Jammu and Kashmir in 2020.
But it's in decline.
Yes. A survey found that the percentage of urban speakers, 45%, is lower than rural speakers, 56%. And it is being excluded from many school curriculums, which is a major concern for its survival.
And US-Pakistan relations?
The relationship has gone through many historical phases. There was the Cold War alliance era with pacts like SEATO and CENTO, then a low point during the 1971 war, followed by a close partnership during the anti-Soviet Afghan jihad in the 1980s.
And there have been sanctions.
Yes, sanctions related to Pakistan's nuclear program under the Symington and Pressler amendments. The current phase is complex.
Let's jump to October 29th, Amazon's cloud outage.
Amazon Web Services, AWS, experienced a major outage in its US East 1 region. The cause was a failure in the DNS, or domain name system.
The phone book of the internet?
Exactly. When it fails, a large part of the internet goes down. This event highlighted the significant risks of our growing dependency on a few centralized cloud providers.
A very relevant risk. Next, early warning for Himalayas.
The Himalayas are extremely vulnerable to climate change, with the region warming at a rate of 0.15 to 0.6 degrees Celsius per decade, much faster than the global average. This increases the risk of hazards like glacial lake outburst floods, GLOFs, and cloudbursts.
So we need better warning systems.
Yes, the source argues for the need to invest in robust early warning systems, EWS, that use a network of on-ground sensors combined with AI, rather than relying solely on expensive satellite-based systems.
And antagonistic antibiotics?
This is an important concept in pharmacology. Antagonism is when mixing two drugs reduces the effectiveness of one or both of them. A classic example is with antibiotics.
Okay.
Mixing a bacteriostatic antibiotic, which stops bacteria from growing, with a bactericidal one, which actively kills bacteria, can sometimes be less effective. The example given is tetracycline and ciprofloxacin. Moving to October 30th. China's complaint at WTO.
China has filed a dispute against India at the World Trade Organization, WTO. The complaint is against India's production-linked incentive schemes, specifically for the auto and battery sectors.
And the grounds for the complaint?
That the PLI scheme's requirement for a certain level of domestic value addition amounts to a prohibited import substitution subsidy under WTO rules. This is a major trade dispute.
And a geography classic. How do cyclones form?
The formation of a tropical cyclone, or its genesis, requires a specific set of conditions. First, the sea surface temperature must be above 26.5 degrees Celsius. Second, there must be a sufficient Coriolis force, which is why they don't form near the equator.
And the third condition, which has the maximum wind speeds.
And the Indus Conundrum. This is about the Indus Waters Treaty of 1960. The source mentions a hypothetical but critical event, that India suspended the treaty in April 2025 following a terrorist attack in Pahalgam. This will have massive consequences, as the Indus River system supports about 80% of Pakistan's agriculture.
And for our final day, October 31st, Mari Selvaraj's Dalit Lives.
This is about the role of Tamil cinema in social justice. There has been a powerful new wave of films led by directors like Pa Ranjith and Mari Selvaraj that focus on Dalit assertion and directly challenge caste norms.
A shift from older films.
A significant shift. The context for many of these films is the history of caste-based violence in the southern districts of Tamil Nadu, particularly around Tirunelveli. Shorter breast cancer care.
This is a medical technology breakthrough. A new drug formulation called PHSGO combines two targeted therapy drugs, trastuzumab and pertuzumab, which are used for a specific type of breast cancer known as HER2+.
And it's easier to administer.
Much easier. Traditionally, these drugs were given through a hours-long intravenous IV infusion. The new formulation can be given as a simple subcutaneous injection that takes just 5 minutes. This dramatically improves the quality of life for patients.
And finally, preventing strokes.
This was highlighted on World Stroke Day. A key warning sign for a major stroke is something called a TIA, or transient ischemic attack, often called a mini stroke.
A major red flag.
Exactly. One of the main interventions to prevent a stroke is stenting. If there is more than a 70% blockage in the carotid arteries that supply blood to the brain, a stent can be placed to open up the artery and restore blood flow.
तो ये था हमारा अक्टूबर महीने का मैराथन विश्लेषण. हमने ब्रॉडकास्टिंग की क्लीन फीड पॉलिसी से लेकर क्वांटम कंप्यूटर्स के टाइम रोंडो क्रिस्टल तक सब कुछ कवर किया. What a ride!
Exactly. आज की चर्चा का एक ओवरआर्चिंग थीम था चेंज एंड कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी. हमने देखा कि कैसे टेक्नोलॉजी, पॉलिसी और सोसाइटी एक दूसरे से जुड़े हुए हैं और लगातार बदल रहे हैं.
हाँ, जैसे साइंस एंड टेक में
हमने देखा कि कैसे एआई ड्रग डिस्कवरी में मदद कर रहा है और कैसे क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग नई संभावनाएं खोल रहा है.
और पॉलिटी में
हमने नागालैंड के जॉब कोटा से लेकर एडीआर के महत्व तक शासन की चुनौतियों को समझा.
इकोनॉमी में हमने क्रिएटिव डिस्ट्रक्शन की बात की.
हाँ, और भारत के R&D खर्च जैसे मुद्दों पर बात की. एंड इन एनवायरनमेंट हमने स्टबल बर्निंग के डेटा पैराडॉक्स और वेस्टर्न घाट्स के खतरों को उजागर किया.
अब इन कॉन्सेप्ट्स को और पक्का करने का समय है. हियर आर 6 शॉर्ट कंटेंट प्रोब्स. ट्राई टू आंसर ईच इन अंडर 30 सेकंड्स. ओके, नंबर 1. वाटर वेस्ट सर्वेलेंस को एक अर्ली वार्निंग सिस्टम क्यों कहा जाता है?
ALK और PEM इलेक्ट्रोलाइजर्स में मुख्य अंतर क्या है?
क्रिएटिव डिस्ट्रक्शन का एक रियल लाइफ उदाहरण दें.
जोसेफसन जंक्शन क्या है और क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग में इसका क्या उपयोग है?
बोटैनिकल सेक्सिज्म शहरी एलर्जी को कैसे बढ़ाता है?
नागालैंड में एडवांस्ड और बैकवर्ड ट्राइब्स के बीच आरक्षण का मुख्य मुद्दा क्या है?
एंड हियर्स योर फाइनल चैलेंज. आज की चर्चा से कोई भी 3 असंबंधित टॉपिक्स चुने. मान लीजिए गगनयान क्रू एस्केप सिस्टम, दलित लिटरेचर और डोपामीन फास्टिंग, और उन्हें 1 मिनट की कहानी में जोड़ने की कोशिश करें. इससे आपकी एनालिटिकल और कनेक्टिंग स्किल्स टेस्ट होंगी. यह एक शानदार अभ्यास होगा. हमें उम्मीद है कि ये सत्र उपयोगी रहा होगा. अगर हाँ, तो इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें. कमेंट सेक्शन में बताएं कि आपका पसंदीदा टॉपिक कौन सा था, और इसे अपने साथी एस्पिरेंट्स के साथ जरूर शेयर करें.
अगली बार तक पढ़ते रहें और सोचते रहें.